What is up, to me Academy? Welcome back. We have been doing a ton of collection buying this past 2-3 days. I think I've picked, well, really the last week. I've picked up 5 collections, got dropped off between, or I picked up between yesterday and today. So I've got one in from Canada, picked up one local, a small one that was a really nice find. Yesterday I drove down to South Carolina and got one. I got another one off Facebook Marketplace that got shipped to me, just a little $100 collection. I don't even really know what's in it. There was an HP Nicol Bolas from Legends, so I don't know. Worst case scenario, there's nothing else in it, and I'm out $50. And I picked up a small one today from another local cat, a young kid who does a little bit of the flipping thing, and sometimes has a lot for me that I'll buy at 70%. So you're gonna see a ton of collection videos coming. I'm gonna cut this to a little bit of candid footage that I shot when I went down to South Carolina yesterday. I just kind of turned the camera on. We were riffing on just Magic in general. Shout out to Jeremy, who got me connected with Brian to buy his collection. Brian's been playing since '94. Used to play in the tournament scene. Apparently he was fairly competitive. He said, in his words, he never got the top 2, but he was always coming in third all the time, behind the same 2 guys every time. So he was pretty big into it back in the day. I think he said he was a freshman in high school when he started in '94, so he was kind of the perfect age to experience Magic when it came out, in my opinion, to play, tournament play and that kind of stuff. So yeah, we'll just see a little bit of riffing, and then we'll have another video that goes over the collection and what it is, and after I break it down. There's some cool stuff in there, the little bit of Arabian Nights, Shahrazad, and a couple other big things, and most of the stuff is just nice condition. Some reserve list stuff, some Tempest, and Urza's Saga, Urza's block in general. Yeah, so have at it.
And it's awesome.
Art was a lot different back then.
The art was a lot better back then.
I mean, just
It was
the
simpler. It
hand
was
drawn
like-
instead of the digital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you got something detailed in an old picture, it's like the artist you're listening to talk about. My favorite artist is Richard Kent Ferguson by far.
Really?
Yeah, I like that kind of airy, kind of wispy look.
Interesting. I'm Quentin Hoover.
Oh, yeah?
I love Quentin. Meekstone, Vesuvian, Doppelganger, Earth.
We got Dak and Blackblade, Arcane Denial, Pillage.
Oh yeah.
Those are all him.
Blackblade.
And then
That's a good one.
Martine was pretty good. And then Anson Maddox.
Martine,
Those are like
of
the
course.
top 3 for me.
Anson, yeah. I have.
His stuff just creeps me out. It's like, dude,
Stuff's
you're
great.
He
twisted.
had some pretty good.
Therese Nielsen too. I mean, who? Let's see who else is early. Oh, there's Hoover, a couple Wrath of Gods. Yeah, Schuler. Yeah, there's Schuler right there. He's cool. He's a cool dude. I got a lot of stuff signed by him.
Jones. Ed Jones.
It's so weird how many artists over the years though that like maybe did 1 or 2 cards,
Yeah.
and you see and you're like,
Yeah, and they're
what?
like,
Who is this?
I looked at some of their web pages recently. You still get them signed. You just mail them off. It's like $2.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just keep it to 20 or less, and put them all in one sleeve, so I don't have to do as much work. That's like their guideline.
I mean, and I think a lot of the artists have like a kind of like a broker person too, who like
Yeah.
does all that kind of work for them. You know, not the signing, but
Right.
gets everything kind of set
Right.
up and
Yeah. Just,
acts as a go.
they just come in and they have a table. It's like 20 minutes of work. They make a day's salary. And they
So friend of mine, he loves Mark Poole, his favorite artist. He had a picture, he took it over there to get it signed in Atlanta, even though he just went around the corner and did it. But he said when he went there was a guy, he had a play mat of Ancestral Recall, you know the guy.
Yeah.
And he goes, I want you, Mark, to draw the birds of paradise swooping down and attacking the guy. He's doing that. And he made the bird scene for the movie.
That's awesome. This collection I'm gonna go buy in Virginia next week has, you know, those old playmats. They're really big ones.
Yeah.
They're like, they almost look like
Scrolls.
maps or scrolls.
Yeah.
I forget what they're called.
I saw some of that. I was watching a video of like one of the early like championship things. That's what they had. There's
Yeah.
a dual player one of those.
Right. But like, I mean, apparently they're worth a ton of money.
It's ridiculous. It doesn't do anything. It's a mat.
Right, it's a mat.
Yeah.
But I guess they're so limited print run. I mean, that's all of it, right?
Yeah.
It's the more limited
Scarcity.
it is, and you know, if people want it. But he's got one that he drew birds. He had Poole draw Birds of Paradise on it and sign it.
Yeah.
Back in the day. So that'll be a cool thing to pick up. That'll probably go in my personal collection because I don't think I can let go of that.
Yeah.
Once it's just so cool and weird.
You got one of the signed Charizards. The other one sold, but I still had the one.
Oh wait, the Charizard? There's only one?
No, there's two of them in there.
Oh, okay.
But one of them signed.
Oh,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it's silver signed. I think.
Oh, nice. That's only my second Kaha's signature. I had another one, Millstone.
Okay.
Signed. Factor is beautiful.
I never actually.
I didn't get a lot into that, but I was building that blue-white deck, and I really wanted 4 Charizards. So I did the math of if I do my deck right, I could play 17 games of Magic before we ever finished. So I actually we never finished the first game of the tournament. So I did play it in a casual tournament.
So how did that duel end? It just ended in a tie?
Well, they forced us to exit everything the way that like the hand was. So it's like, okay, I think we're like 5 games deep at the time, and so lose half your life, whatever that was going to be, and then we get the outer game. That's going to determine the winner of the round. They
Did
just
you win?
No. I was off by a little bit.
But I imagine it was.
My only real kill condition was either the donated Thought Lash would eat them, or my Misha's Factory would whittle them down. Those are my only win conditions.
Otherwise, it was just like a fun, goofy deck.
Yeah. That's all. I just to harass people. I had Humility Orange Sprayer. Okay, you can pay to attack me, and I'll gain a life, and it negates the damage. So.
I like your style.
It was just a bunch of that.
Are you guys ever? Do you guys travel and play? Like, do you plan on playing more and doing drafts and stuff like that?
Well, I might occasionally draft. I don't know. It really depends.
Okay.
These days, I put a lot of my free money into like guitar stuff.
True.
Or Xbox.
I think you haven't played forever since we played that one night.
Yeah, that was the last time I played. Well, actually, I did install Arena. I started playing a little bit of Arena.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
But I'm not going to go.
Don't dump any money into it.
Yeah.
I heard it
digital
becomes
cards.
an addiction pretty quick.
No, I did their. They had like a $5 entry pack, which I did that. But otherwise, I'm just gonna play it and earn the coin.
Yeah.
In the game.
We'll probably start. You let me know and we can start coming over here and we'll play some games and stuff like that.
Yeah, I go that direction too. Save you some driving.
Do you play EDH mostly?
I only play Modern and Legacy. Those are the only.
Oh, that's it.
And Pioneer. I built 2 Pioneer decks.
How's Pioneer?
It's
What is Pioneer again?
Pioneer is
It's
from
like modern, but further back.
Ravnica all the way up.
Or I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
You
further
might have
up.
told me that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, like,
Ravnica block.
Modern's 8th. No.
Not original Ravnica.
Yeah.
Return to Ravnica.
Yeah.
So like 2013,
Mm-hmm.
and then whereas modern's back to 8th edition.
So
Yeah.
you kind of get the shock lands. And
Yeah,
things
you
like
got
that.
no fetches.
Yeah, there's no fetches in
Well,
that one.
What's the new? I heard Zendikar is gonna have choose your.
They're doing
Color?
it's a land themed deck. I feel like they're gonna. They've only like put out a little bit of information on what they want, but it's gonna be something land themed. And there's gonna be a new type of land. I don't know if it's
So
gonna
I've
be
heard about the
campaign land.
new type of land that it's gonna be. It's type of duel, but when it hits the battlefield, you choose whether it's like green,
that
green black.
static color from the
Yeah, and when it hits the battlefield, it's just that one color, but you get to choose. Which
Some
is
of these
interesting.
new
yeah.
ones aren't bad.
Yeah.
I was watching him pull some of that out when he was here last. Some of these new duels are not bad.
Yeah, I mean the
Yeah.
Battle Bond ones for
I mean,
EDH are great.
There's like ones like if you have 4 lands or more, then it comes into play untapped or something like that.
Yeah,
Check
It's like
lands and
check
things like
lands
that.
and yeah, I was surprised the
So basically, you got like 50% chance that's just as good as a duel when you draw it.
Right,
You know? I'm
exactly.
like,
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
that's pretty good.
The only painful thing about those is that if you ever play Legacy, that reduces your abilities because you have to have dual lands.
But yeah, if you're gonna play
cost
vintage
and
or whatever they
everything.
call it these days, you can't have anything come into play.
What is
twice.
that, like 3-4 turns? I don't play Legacy. I built a Legacy deck back in Denver, and nobody played,
Yeah.
and so I just tore it apart and swapped out the duels for
That Goblin
box
deck I
of
played,
templates.
it was $50. If I hit turn 5, I probably had killed you.
Really?
Yeah, that was just with commons and uncommons, maybe one rare in the deck.
I think most of my Legacy
Yeah, I
decks
still
are turn
can
3
play.
decks.
Turn 3.
Turn
Yeah.
3.
I mean, that's pretty similar to Modern. I mean, Modern's turn 3, turn 4, unless you're playing against like Urza or Tron or something that just drags it out.
Tron can be a turn 3 if you
True.
if you have natural Tron. Then the new Goblin deck with Conspicuous Snoot, that's a turn 3.
Oh,
You
there's
can see
a
that one.
competitive Goblin deck in Modern?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
Conspicuous Snoot copies whatever the top card is. So you play
Right.
the top card, it copies it. So if you put Kiki Jiki on top of that, you use Harbinger to find Kiki Jiki, you put it on top, Snoop copies it, you make infinite tokens, and then you copy the last token of Harbinger. Harbinger puts Sling Gang Commander, Sling Gang Commander sacrifices all of them, and then
That's
you
neat.
can attack somebody for $1 million on turn 3.
Wow.
So it's a tier 1 deck now.
Interesting.
And I built that one. That's
Because I haven't played Modern since last year, really, in a tournament.
And I listen to that and like, nothing about that sounds fun to me.
I mean,
If you're doing it, it sounds a lot of fun, but
yeah, if you're sitting across the table.
The
I
one
mean,
thing that deck made me think about is I learned that there is was it a blue counter spell that you can just pay 2 life instead of the casting cost, so you can basically have a counter spell in any deck, but you can only have one.
yeah, something like that. There's
So there's
well,
a
like
chance.
that one.
There's a
Oh,
chance.
Force of Negation?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I thought it was like mismanaged or miss something.
I can't think of what that card would be off. But the thing is like Modern has a lot of answers.
True.
So it's like you
That's true. Modern
can
does have
stop
a lot
of
answers.
it. Yeah, they can just say, hey, take out your Kiki Jiki, and then they basically make me remove
Sure.
all the Kiki Jiki from my deck, or hand, or field.
But I did okay in that one game where I dropped a lobotomy on your end of the
Lobotomy.
game, and it was like
I was
combo
playing
broken.
Titan Shift, Modern Titan Shift, and it was Valakut. Well, I guess I'm Field of the Dead the rest of the game.
Yep.
So it
Yeah,
just
take
kind of
Valakut out and you're
yeah.
pretty much screwed.
And-
Or like Death Shadow with no Death Shadow.
Yeah, Death
And I
Shadow
was playing the
done.
Recurring Nightmare, so I just kept doing Necrotal, taking out the zombies or not, whatever.
And that's
they
the
were.
big difference between Modern and Legacy. Is Modern, it's kind of about if you take that 1 or 2 cards out, then that's pretty much their game's over.
That's true.
Legacy, they got another way to get something going.
There's like 4 or 5 win cons in Legacy.
So
I mean,
But you look at Legacy, like every deck has like the same like 20 cards in there that are like $30,000. And it's like, do you have a Disintegrator or a Fireball or whatever?
and some of those decks are like pretty cheap until you get to the lands.
Yeah.
Or pretty
Well, I
cheap.
mean,
until you
land based. That's the same with EDH. Pretty much everything. Real estate's going to be your most expensive part of the deck.
Yeah.
If you look, except unless you're doing like vintage, then your artifacts, which
Right.
are just mimicking land anyway. So
Right.
So that's pretty much. I think the legacy decks for like blue and things that they get pricey.
Yeah.
Because you got all those nasty spells. It's like $200-$300 cards every time.
True.
It just runs you up.
And they
So
want it to be that way. I mean, look, just like you can have in Legacy, you can have 1 Necropotence now. It's like,
Oh, really?
yeah, like, well, you just killed the whole archetype there.
Huh.
It's
I didn't
like-
know that. Was that on a recent ban and restricted?
I don't know. I don't follow this that close anymore.
yeah, it
I started
can
looking up
swap
all
back
this since
in.
you were here, like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, you just looked to see what it was.
Like,
man.
literally, I think I went to Myrtle Beach that weekend with a Necro deck in case I felt like going over to the game store. I was like, yeah, I don't feel like wearing a mask for hours, so I'm just going to stay at my parents' house and hang.
True.
Because,
That kind of sucks right now because there's no tournaments going on. So like,
yeah.
it's funny that they're putting out all these cards that won't get played at major tournaments.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's also interesting that market is booming right now for paper, but like nobody's playing. I mean, people are playing. They're going over to
is
Buddy's house.
it vintage paper or modern paper?
Everything's going up.
I sell. I mean, duels fly.
Yeah.
I think that volcanic is a different one than we first were talking about.
Yeah.
Because I sold it because somebody needed it.
Yeah.
And
that's what you do in your business.
so I was like, another one will pop up sometime soon, you know.
I think when I first wanted to start getting dual lands, I could get a lightly played Badland for 180, and that was like pretty nice price. And then it shot to 250. Now it's like 275.
I just sold an LP for 280 yesterday.
Yeah. So and then that's the reduced, nice, generous price.
Yeah, and that was for one of my pretty good regulars.
Underground Seas lightly played $500 now.
Oh, you can get it for under that. I think I just priced one out today that for 440.
Okay.
And it's all about what is it going to sell for.
Yeah, if I were to want to get in that, I'd be like, I'd take one and beat because I'm gonna sleeve it anyway.
Yeah,
There's damaged groups. There's damaged groups now.
Yeah.
And when I built my legacy deck, all my Volks and Undergrounds were MP because it was for a deck. I have a full.
Most of the old
Mirrorman
tournaments
set
that
for
I watched,
fives.
was his name was Randy Bueller talking about it. They like for the tournaments because they were videoing it and they wanted the cameras to be able to pick up the cards well. They had to unsleeve, so they were there like shuffling beta duels and all this stuff
That's
together.
amazing.
It's because and they were doing it because the cameras there was too much glare with the sleeve on.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was kind of funny. They're shuffling.
This is not going to be very well shuffled.
You went
Every
first.
time you shuffle, you're like $100, $100 off,
Yeah.
$100 off.
You win first prize. You still lost money because you shuffled your
Yeah.
cards.
Oh my god.
So that's the one annoying thing is I'll be sorting the bulk at the shop, and you start shuffling through, and all of a sudden you feel the
Oh yeah.
where
A
the
little bit of
sand
grit.
and grit's got between, and it's
Oh,
like, well,
that's
this
the worst.
stack is no good.
Yeah. You know what works well for that? This is one of the first things I learned. I got one of the first collections I bought was a terrible investment. It was like a week after I started thinking I was gonna, flip cards to buy cards. And this guy gave me like 4,000 cards. It was all bulk. I think I gave him $150 for it. And they were like out of a dumpster or something. Like they were in decent shape, but there was just sand throughout the whole thing.
You
Dirt
played
and
Magic
sand.
on the beach.
I don't know what, like you could just like take a stack and go. But the dusters for computers,
The
like
air.
air blasters,
Yeah.
you take a stack and like loosely hold it in your hand and go back and forth over it. That works pretty well. If you ever got a stack of sandy cards that's like you actually want to take the time to do that.
I don't know if I'll want to spend that
Ah.
much.
Just a little tip I learned when I was like, I need to recoup this $150 that
Right.
I just wasted on all this bulk.
That was
a
the
nice
very
soft
beginning.
rag wiping each
Well,
one of
150 is
them.
like a big deal.
Well, I mean, I was like, when I first started doing this, I told myself, okay, I've got a budget of $500, and I was getting back into the game again, and I always like buying collections rather than buying booster boxes, just because it's fun. It's more fun for me to like look through your old collection than it is to crack open a booster box. I mean, cracking open a booster box is a different type of fun, but I like the randomness and like, ooh.
It has to be random. And some of those you'll see like, I got 50 reds in this set, and then I might have 10 white.
Right. And
It's like apparently he did
what
not like
happened?
white in that era.
He traded away all his white cards or whatever, weird quirks like that.
Or they were in that black box that got taken to Myrtle
Right.
Beach.
Yeah, when we were going into it, because Lotus Petal is kind of popular right now.
Yeah,
and
there's like 10 of those in it.
It's like 10. We were like going through, like Lotus Petal and Soul Ring, Lotus Petal, Lotus Petal, Lotus. I was like, what were you doing?
Well, yeah, I knew they were going to be big back in the day. Because every deck had them.
True.
So,
I mean, they just, it's one of those things that doesn't really, they just reprinted it in Mystery Booster.
Yeah.
And the Tempest version was about $7-8 in near mint condition before they reprinted it. And I just listed one the other day, and it's back up to like $9-10.
The originals ones, yeah.
Yeah, the original.
Well, that
People
was what I was
want
doing
the
the-
original. I personally hate that little symbol in the bottom of Mystery Booster, and the cardstock isn't right, and it's just like smells funny. It's just not the same as having the original.
I got all
Tempest
those
one.
doing the booster drafting. Because the guys at Troop, half of them didn't really play. They just come to hang out for a couple of hours with everybody else. So at the end of the day, they're like, I don't care.
Right. Here you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the ones that you had were actually all lightly played. They were all
Yeah, they all
pretty.
look. I mean, honestly, this whole box minus the revise and a few other of these sets, like moderately
The
played,
Fallen
moderately
Empire's
played.
pretty
There's
beat,
probably
the
an
Revise's pretty
HP.
beat.
Yeah, but for the most part, like
But this
even the
Urza
dark looks
set-
pretty good. You know, LP. Urza looks beautiful.
I think
That's
this
Tempest
is
up there.
this is Tempest. Yeah.
Yeah, and
You can see it because the booster drafting there because I got so many. Oh,
true. I love
Tempest was a good set.
Tempest is great.
it was a great standalone.
Masquerade
Yeah.
was fun too.
That block was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Was it Tempest Exodus Weatherlight? No,
No, it was Tempest Stronghold Exodus.
Tempest Stronghold Exodus.
It's super powerful. I really like doing.
Stronghold's ridiculous.
I loved blue green back then because you trade with your wall of blossoms and you sort of draw a card, tap this, bounce one back from hand, draw a card.
You played me with that day, didn't you? Bouncing.
No, I played the Recurrent Nightmare. What that deck evolved was from a blue green into a 5-color green with the bouncing. So that's when I got my set of birds and I was doing trade winds and wall blossoms. So I had all kinds of, I could do whatever. And then the Recurrent Nightmare got big. So I played all black Recurrent Nightmare at first. Is a
Mono
Hatred black, mono black Hatred Recurrent Nightmare.
That sounds like a fun day.
It was pretty fun.
It was fun watching
It
play.
wasn't quite
Going.
competitive enough to win. Back in the day, most tournaments I played in the Dueling Ground probably would come in like 3rd place. Right behind like Chris Leather or David Yancey. It was always the same 2 guys beat me.
Really?
Or this other guy, I think his name was Daniel Henley or something like that would come in and play. It was always the same guys. And Yancey actually learned how to play at my friend's house. We took him over, introduced him to the game after school. So
So you're kicking yourself later?
yeah, and, it was fun though. It was fun though. He started running his cards like a business way back then. He'd pull with some other guys and get lots, and they would go to play other Pro Tour stuff. And
Yeah.
I wasn't willing to pay for travel.
True. True. I mean, back in the day, was it profitable to play? Pro Tour, right? Back
Not
days
really.
of Pro Tour?
You go for trade, I think, for the
Yeah.
most part. It was more of a hobby than a
True.
Back
e-sport.
then, you had the state championships at that time
Yeah,
in the earlier days. So
True.
I lost my original DCI card. Ironically, I didn't lose it that long ago.
Really?
Yeah. I just don't remember. It was probably in the black box. I ended up having to get a new number last year when I did that.
Well, if I find a DCI card in here, I'll mail it back to you.
No, I assure you it's not in there. I've been through that box.
Yeah, true.
Unless it somehow ended up between this wall and that wall.
Go to a tournament, play as you.
That's right. It earned me all the points. Back in the day, I had around 1,000.
I think they've redone their point system now.
Have they?
Probably.
Yeah, they're playing
It must have evolved sometime in the last 20 years.
I've never been much of a tournament player. I was always a kitchen table player. It's only in the last couple of years that I started playing some tournaments.
The best thing about back in the day is there was no net decking. There was no
Right.
net decking.
Yeah.
Which is cool because you run into a bunch of weird different brews.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, playing that's kind of why I played a couple tournaments last year and I was like, you play the same 3 decks over and over.
Yeah.
With maybe a couple cards swapped out. And I net decked for that tournament too.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to play a tournament. So I
Right. You want to be
the
competitive
perfect
and
deck.
play more than one round. You're gonna.
Yeah,
Right.
there's hardly
And
any.
that's because there's so much
reasons.
combo generated R&D these days. Back in the day, there wasn't really combos.
True. True. I mean, there were,
It was
but
Rocky and Apollo.
Yeah.
That's what the decks were like.
yeah. Well, thanks for this, man. Oh, I should probably pay you, right?
Yeah, that'd probably be right. About right. So you do PayPal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Me. We've been recording this whole time
Okay.
for the last 20 minutes.
I figured as much.
So,
20
When I looked up and saw the reflection I was in frame, I figured you were recording.
yeah.